1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster
Movie.
fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Hello, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. I am one of your hosts, Precious D.
And I am one of your hosts, Honeybee.
Honeybee, I had to go get my knee x-rayed this morning.
Ooh, how did that go?
It turned me into a giant. All my hair fell out and I started growing exponentially.
Wow. Ooh.
But somebody hit me with a second dose and I went back to normal. So
Wow. Did you put on a diaper and throw a huge fit?
I didn't get quite that big.
Oh, good. Okay.
So they caught it before I got to the diaper made out of a sheet sized. But today we are not discussing the amazing colossal crybaby. We are discussing the Mysterians.
The Mysterians! I actually didn't know before we got into this, or before I started watching it, that this was another Japanese film.
Oh,
I had no idea. I was so excited.
Well, I mean, the first scene is very Japanese.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like I started watching it and I was like, oh shit, hell yeah. Then it made me excited for the movie. I was like, this is going to be good.
Oh, good. So it's from 1957 and it's in color. An hour and 28 minutes, directed by Ishiro Honda, our old buddy from Godzilla and such.
Shout out.
I don't have a budget, and apparently it's kind of ambiguous, but Honda says it costs more than Godzilla and Rodan. I don't know if that means more than both of them together,
Wow.
or just more than either of them cost. But it made 193 million yen in Japan, but only $50,000 when it was released in the US.
Which is horseshit.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good.
So this movie has a kaiju in it, a giant robot, but it's not really about that.
Yeah.
But I went ahead and put it on the list anyway because it's an Ishiro Honda movie, a Toho movie.
And we do get a whole whopping 2 minutes of huge robot bug.
Yeah. And I don't know. Well, he kind of shows up again at the end, but nobody really talks about it. But we'll get to that. But it's part of Honda's development as a genre director. And so I wanted to include it. It's what they call a tokusatsu movie, which is basically science fiction. So,
okay.
So I mean, kaiju movies generally fall in that category as well, but
sure,
that includes things
generally
that aren't kaiju movies. And it stars several people that we have seen before.
Yeah.
Kenji Sahara plays Joji Atsumi. He was the star of Rodan and had a bit part as Guy on the Party Boat in Godzilla. Yumi Shirazawa, known as the Japanese Grace Kelly, was also in Rodan. She is playing his girlfriend again. Akihiko Hirata plays Ryoshi Shirishi.
Mm-hmm.
He was the scientist in Godzilla, the younger scientist with the eye patch. And Momoko Kochi was Emiko in Godzilla. And Tahashi Shimura was the doctor who was her father in Godzilla, the main scientist, the older scientist in Godzilla.
Mm.
Obviously, Honda likes using a lot of the same people over again, but Kenji Sahara in particular, he is in more Godzilla and Godzilla-related movies than anybody else. So that was nice to see all of those people again. Of course, none of them playing the same character at all.
Well, Shirashi is still a scientist.
Yeah, because what's
That's not playing the same actual character.
Momoko will literally play the same character years later. She will be back as Emiko.
Okay.
Years later. But I don't think Kenji Sahara ever plays the same character again, even though he's in more of these movies than anybody. There's one lady we'll get to years from now who does play the same character in several Godzilla movies. So she's kind of interesting. I think she's appeared as the same character in more movies. So you enjoyed this movie, yeah?
Yeah, I was kind of confused. Like at some point in the movie, I'm like, how is this a kaiju movie? But I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's the robot bug in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I thought like it's like so good as far as like science fiction-y storyline. Of course, there were things where I was like, what the fuck? But it was like overall, like it was good. It was as good as, for me personally, like, I remember when we watched Godzilla Raids Again, and that was, like, so good compared to everything that we had watched. I mean, Godzilla too, but then the American version kind of, like, I don't know, fucked that up for me a little bit. But then, like, this movie is kind of on that level for me as far as, like, how good it was, the action, it, like, keeps you. There's so many times where you're like, what? You know, like the storyline is good.
Well, then I'm glad we decided to put it on the list, even though it just barely
me too.
meets our criteria. We quickly go to a festival, and I noticed everybody is in traditional garb except Ryochi.
Oh, I didn't know.
He's wearing modern clothes, and everybody else is wearing traditional Japanese clothes as part of the festival. I get the impression some of these people, it's a little village, so some of them probably dress like that most of the time anyway, but I think they purposely dressed him in modern clothes to distance him from everybody, to show he's an outsider. Even though we learn in a minute he plans to stay in this village, he is kind of there as an outsider. And we find out that Joji and Etsuko is Hiroko's sister. No, Ryochi's sister. Etsuko Sarishi, and Ryochi, they are brother and sister. And Joji appears to be dating Etsuko. And Ryochi was engaged to Hiroko, but he has broken it off for some reason, and he doesn't want to talk about it. So Joji's like, why don't you dance? Everybody's dancing. He says, why don't you dance with Hiroko? And he just walks away. And that poor girl just looks heartbroken.
Can't win them all.
So I wrote awkward. And I also wrote WTF, man. Because, well, Joji follows him and basically has a what the fuck, man conversation. Why'd you break the engagement? And he says, I can't say. And he never does say. He never really gives any explanation. But he's staying here.
Just need a little drama.
Yeah, he's staying here. And we find out that he is an astronomer because it seemed Joji seems to think it's a strange place for an astronomer to set up camp.
Right.
And suddenly there's a forest fire, and the festival stops, and the guy starts ringing the bell, and Ryochi runs towards the fire, and a bunch of guys on bicycles start riding towards the fire too. I don't know what they think they're gonna do.
I know, and they're even like, "This is our village," like as if they're gonna fight the fire in the street.
Right? Yeah, they're gonna do some karate on it or something. I don't know, because they don't even have buckets, and it does look like the fire's on the other side of the lake from the village. So I mean, it could spread around the lake, but for the moment. They've got some distance.
It is a rager, too. It is a raging fire. Oh, I also want to say real quick while we're still in the beginning of this, that this movie was very nicely dubbed. You know, like I feel like we've seen some weird shit in the past. Yeah. But this was really good. And if you weren't looking, like if I was like walking around, it was very like anime. Do you know what I mean? Like how the people, like, you know what I mean, right? Like how they're just like so much acting in like one word or something. Like, I don't know. It was really good though. I loved it. Okay, keep going. Raging Forest Fire. Oh,
well, I'll say the dubbing, I couldn't find out any details about it, but I did notice it too, in that it seemed sort of modern. I didn't notice any when you watch a lot of these movies, and you notice it a lot in kung fu movies. You tend to start hearing the same voices as the dubbed actors, and I didn't feel like I'd heard any of these people before. So
it just, it was really good. It felt, I loved it. There were certain voices with like certain people that made me laugh hysterically. I'm like, whoa!
There were a couple of like country accents.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
They were terrible, but it was.
I don't know if that was done on purpose to indicate that this person is the Japanese equivalent of a country bumpkin, or if it was just that's the guy they got. I don't know.
I don't know either, but yeah, it was way better than anything else that we've seen that's dubbed, I would say.
But the bicycle guys stumble across Sarichi and seem scared by him at first. But then they're yelling about how we got to do it. We got to go fight the fire. And there's something strange. Oh, I wrote something strange about fire and accents.
Yeah.
And then surrounded help. Are they surrounded by the fire?
Yes. Yeah. The fire ends up like surrounding them and they can't get out.
Sirachi, I don't know how his name is pronounced.
Shirashi.
Yes. It's spelled Shiraishi, but I think they were just saying Shirashi.
Shirashi, yeah.
But he just sort of, I don't know, stares at the fire. And then we cut to morning at the observatory, and Joji and Dr. Adachi have given up on Sirachi.
Yeah, they're like, he's dead?
It seems like it, yeah. It seems like he's disappeared in the fire. And they, but also they're talking about his paper on his Mysterioid paper.
Oh, yeah, the mysterious
And then they
stars.
bizarrely refer to asteroids as stars, because they're clearly talking about asteroids and about the asteroid belts between Mars and Jupiter, but they refer to them as stars and as the Mysteroid, which has oid like asteroid right in the name, but
Yeah.
but they refer to it as a strange star, a mysterious star, and how Sirachi did not finish the report, which is unlike him. And Hiroko is there too. She seems to be acting as like a secretary or something. The university calls something about Mount Fuji, and what's hands tied where Sirachi was? Police? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot read my own writing. But I think it has something to do with where Sarishi was last seen, and the police are there. And then we cut to Joji in a car with either army guys or police guys. It's sometimes hard in these movies to tell the army from the police because they seem to have very similar uniforms. I think it's confirmed later that they are the police.
Yeah.
And landslide. That's
severe landslide.
It looked like I wrote hands tied. I wrote landslide. The university calls to tell them there was a landslide, and it's in the same area where Sarishi was.
And we actually get to see a little bit of the landslide and all of the toys destroyed.
They speculate that it could have been done on purpose.
Yeah, that they detect like radioactivity, and so they're thinking that it might have been done on purpose, and not even a dog survived.
Yeah, and a bunch of guys standing around looking at a crevice for the pumas, and
like you do.
Look it up, people. Pumas in the crevices. There's no reading on the Geiger counter, which is odd because I think you almost always get some kind of reading, just a background reading.
Yeah.
Because there's always background radiation everywhere all the time, and it's got no reading whatsoever. And so maybe something sucked up all the radiation, absorbed it. And they're talking about this is where the shrine, if this is where the shrine was, then the village should be over that way, and it should be okay, but they're not sure. It might be intact. And the readings yesterday, there was radiation yesterday in the readings, but there's none now, so that's weird. And they talk about if Sirachi died.
Yeah.
And going to see the burn area. They're going to go see the area that burned up, and there's a bunch of dead fish. And let's investigate. And when they drive off to investigate, the tires of their Jeep start smoking. And they get out and check, and the ground is hot and radioactive. And then in the distance, they see some smoke or some dust.
Yeah.
And it turns out then there's a rock slide, and a giant ass robot comes up out of the ground, and
a robot bug.
Yeah. He has a very bug-like face, although his nose, I think, is actually a drill, but we don't see him use it until the end.
He
Maybe he drilled up
I
from
think what
underground.
makes him look like a bug too is he has like antennae,
Yes.
bling, bling,
And
bling, 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 making like dial-up sounds.
yeah. Is he making a modem dial-up modem sounds?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something I read, it says the robot is called, Wikipedia says the robot is called Mogira, but I don't remember anybody actually referring to it as that in the movie.
Me either. No, I just called him Roby
But
because it was a robot bug. And what he shoots what out of his eyes, like lasers or fire or something?
yeah, he's got some kind of eye beams. I'm looking at Mogira. I'm looking at Mogira here. It claims that he shows up. Oh, okay. I think this robot just looks like a different robot from the Godzilla movies. So they've attached.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a very thick. That was my other thing. Mogira is very thick. He's got those big old thighs.
Oh,
he's got those big old thighs.
He's thick. He's a thick ass boy.
So this other robot from Godzilla versus Space Godzilla does have a very similar drill nose and big old thighs. Okay. And there's some things we're going to see in some other movies that will then show up like in a different form in later Godzilla movies. So I think they recycle a bunch of this stuff.
Hell yeah. Reduce, reuse, recycle, thick thighs,
recycle your kaiju. Anyway, the robot comes out, thick boy, I wrote, destroys the Jeep and I-beams, but not beams. They're more like energy blobs. Yeah. It's not a steady line beam. It's like these little blobs of energy that come out. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And at HQ, they talk about guns have no effect.
Yeah, I love that. So they start spraying it with water.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, makes sense. It really does, because he breathes fire and he looks like a robot. Like, water makes sense to me.
Right. And I've watched this like twice. And the first time I thought they were attacking him with hoses. Then the second time I thought, well, maybe they're putting out the fire. And then they're kind of like, well, as long as we're here, let's hose him down and see if that does any good.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, realistic. Okay.
I wrote phone at the plant. I don't know. And then robot tears up power lines. And there's a weird thing with Etsuko is in the bath and sees the robot out.
Yeah.
He does not do a Kong and come look at her through the window, but she sees him out the window.
Yeah, and at this point, we also realize that he has like back spikes too, which I thought was a good little addition.
So Joji calls her out of the bath, and I guess let's get out of here. There's a big ass robot.
And she's like, yeah, I just saw him through the window.
HQ again, no contact with something. I don't know, with GOA? I have no idea.
Well, the next thing I have written down is lots of big automatic weapons, and then that the gun footage that they use is just like a piece of footage that's like maybe like 5 or 6 seconds long, and then it's just like on a loop. They just like use the same footage just like on a loop over and over and over, and there's this really weird moment in the edit of like from the guy loading the weapon to where it goes off, where he's like he's kind of in different spots. And so you could tell that it was like just.
You talking about like the big cannon gun that they have to load from the back?
So. Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh. Well, there's a evacuation. Is this meant to say radio? I don't know. They need to evacuate and try to protect the town, and there's panic in the streets, and they're telling everyone to evacuate at the bridge, and fires and firefighters hose the robots. And he energy blobs the fire truck. And Joji and what's her name? His girlfriend, Etsuko, casually evacuates.
Yeah, they just stop in the middle of the fucking bridge and have a deep conversation. There's people like
they're just kind of holding hands and strolling along and like, oh, maybe we should evacuate now. Lots of running around and bang bang. Please hurry across the bridge, the guy on the PA is saying. It's a line of defense. And something about the toys.
Toys. I love this.
Barring toys.
It's one of my favorite things about these movies. It's just like the destroy. It makes me just want to like get a bunch of toy villages together and smash them.
We should do a video of that.
We should. It looks so
the incredible
fun.
50-foot honeybee tears shit up.
Yeah.
And then there's burning toys. That's what I wrote. Burning toys. UFOs. 3 UFOs come in and there's more shooting. And they try attacking the robot with a flamethrower. And I thought the flames looked out of proportion. Like the flames coming out of the actual flamethrower, when you cut to the flames shooting at the actual robot, look much bigger. Which they would, because I mean that's just a consequence of using a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
They didn't make a little teeny tiny mini flamethrower, so the flames end up looking much bigger than they ought to. And then as the robot heads to the bridge, we find out what they mean by a line of defense, because everybody gets across the bridge and then they just blow it and the robot falls into the crevice and that's it. It's done. Easiest kaiju takedown ever.
Yeah, and within the first 15 minutes of the movie.
That they have no idea who made it or why, and they speculate it came from outer space.
Yeah, they have a fragment from it, and they find out that it's that he wasn't alive, that it was just controlled by someone. And this is where I wrote, ooh, this is getting good.
But they seem a little surprised. They're announcing, it wasn't alive, it was just a robot. I'm like, well, yeah, obviously it was a robot. Did you think it was a creature?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, it was, when machines attack robot. Have you, I mean, maybe they just thought that was the alien itself.
Maybe. So at the observatory, the Joji, I'm not clear at all what his job actually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really not sure either.
Ryochi is an astronomer, and Dr. Adachi is also some kind of astronomer, but I don't know what Joji's job is. He's just there all the time because of Philo. But they are at the observatory and talking about, just as Shirashi report stated, there is activity on the dark side of the moon. How can they know if there's activity on the? They
see like the little UFOs going back there.
When people say the dark side of the moon, what they really mean is the far side of the moon, and because both sides are dark depending on what time of the month it is. But if there's activity on the far side of the moon, they can't see it. But then we do see these UFOs kind of come around the corner, and they take some pictures. And
then they're speaking. This surprised me. They're like, "Hello, humans." I was like, "Oh shit! Oh my gosh! They're actually going to talk to us."
So but they're looking at the picture before the aliens just start yelling at everybody. They're looking at the pictures, and Shirashi claims moon to spaceship and spaceship to Earth forays are taking place. And Joji says he heard Shirashi's sister say that near Fuji. And I'm like, well, why are you just now bringing this up? Why didn't you mention this earlier? And he says, a scientist has to be sure. I don't know. I think it would have been worth mentioning the possibility of that, even if you weren't sure. Yeah,
the sheer disappointment on that guy's face when he says that. Like, the guy sits down and, like, just looks into space, like, basically, like, well, you just fucked us, kid. Like, he just doesn't even know what to say back to him. It's just, like, the sheer disappointment. I was like, oh, man.
So they're going to be making a report. They're going to make the report public tomorrow. And then we cut to a newspaper that presumably has a headline about this report, but the movie has not bothered to translate it for us. So we don't know what the newspaper says. And then we cut to some soldiers, and I wrote Japanese Colonel Sanders,
Oh,
which is
that's
it's
funny.
Dr. Adachi, but he's dressed up like he's doing some Colonel Sanders cosplay. And Joji and the police, and Shirashi hypothesized that the lake was a staging area for the flying objects when the fish disappeared, and sometimes there was a column of water there. And then they're like, they just seem to be out there looking around at shit for no reason. But then what's that? Dirt churning up again, and it looks like it looks like dirt is churning up.
A huge boob.
A big dome rises up out of the ground. A big single white boob rises up out of the ground, and this is where the aliens just make an announcement that we want to negotiate with the following 5 individuals, and they start naming scientists who all just happen to be there.
They're like, how do they know us?
They don't really, these scientists I don't think really have any authority to negotiate, but the aliens have demanded to see them. And then the scientists recreate the approach to Emerald City shot from Wizard of Oz.
What's weird for me in this scene, though, is like how they're like, we want these 5 people. And they're like, oh, no, we shouldn't. And the other guy's like, yeah, it's fine. They're not going to do anything to us. They said that they won't. And I'm like, yeah, after they sent the destructive death robot? Like, how are you just like, okay with this?
They say, can you assure us that our people will not come to any harm? And they say, you have no need to worry, or something like that. I'm like, that's not exactly an answer. The answer should have been, yes, we assure you they will not be harmed.
He's like, you have no need to worry. We just killed several people and destroyed a lot of shit. But don't worry, we're good guys. And the one scientist is like, yeah, you heard it. They're good guys.
Killed a bunch of fish too.
Yeah, fucking weird.
As they're entering the dome, through just sort of passing through the wall, the voice tells them, it's cold inside, so please wear a cape. And then we see them in the curved white hallways, all wearing gray capes that they've. It was almost like I've never seen this in real life, but in some movies, a restaurant where you have to wear a dinner jacket, and so they'll loan you one if you show up without one. It's like
weird.
Oh, you've never seen that?
Never.
Well, often
that.
it's played for humor in that the guy ends up wearing some hideous checkered jacket because the loaner is just some ugly, terrible jacket, while everybody else at the table is looking very classy. They're in a horrible, loud blazer. But it just seemed kind of like, capes are required inside. We'll give you these gray visitors capes. Because the Mysterians are wearing very colorful capes, but the scientists get all these.
Well, the scientists are greeted by a Power Ranger in a cape.
A yellow guy, and I wrote guy in yellow bug helmet and some kind of sparring belt, some kind of really thick belt that a boxer would wear to practice. To protect his midsection.
It kind of looks like a corset, honestly.
And they enter a very high-tech looking break room where there's more yellow guys and a red guy who enter, and they're pleased to meet these 5 scientists of Earth.
I was a little disappointed that the Mysterians, like the aliens, were just humans in costumes. Like, I mean, like, obviously they're humans in costumes, but I mean, like, I was hoping they would look more.
Oh yeah, they didn't do anything. I mean, they keep their helmets on the whole time, but yeah, we don't. Well, you're going to get that a lot in these movies. The aliens just look like humans. They don't even bother pointing their ears or painting them green or anything like that. They just look like. They not only look like humans, they look like humans from Japan. So. Which you don't notice when that happens in your own movies, that the aliens all look like humans from America, but you realize how ridiculous it is when you see it in a foreign movie.
am very pleased to be able to meet with you 5 scientists of the Earth.
Unfortunately, I can't say the same about you. We're not very pleased about what you've done to the Earth.
It was merely a small sacrifice to avoid a great war.
You consider that a small sacrifice?
If you Earthlings had discovered our existence on your own, you would have attacked us promptly and without reason. So we wished to demonstrate the power of our science beforehand, and demonstrate your utter helplessness.
Except that we took that fucking robot down, so they didn't really show that we were utterly helpless.
Yeah, I thought it was very smart of these aliens to be like, this is like, don't fuck with us. This is what we're doing. They're like the bully, you know, like I'm big and bad.
They
don't fuck
attack
with
the
me.
biggest guy in the prison as soon as they get there.
Yeah,
but it didn't work though because their creature went down. So I think their plan failed,
right?
And it's going to continue to fail. But they say they're from the Mysterioid, from the mysterious planet that must have vanished long ago. I think they're talking about it's been theorized that the asteroid belt is the remnants of a planet that was once there. And they're telling us that that is the case. And it was destroyed in an atomic civil war 100,000 years ago. But some of our ancestors left before the war and relocated to Mars. So they are actually descendants of a Mysterioid outpost, I guess, on Mars.
There's this conversation here too where they're talking about how the humans are selling land on Mars.
Yes.
And it's not like theirs to sell. And I'm like, is this a thing? Like, how? What?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody was doing that.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Buy a star and have it named for someone, except you can't really.
Yeah, I actually have a star that's named after me.
The thing is, when the astronomers and the scientists are discussing that star, they are not referring to it as Honeybee's star. That's
sure, but I am, and that's all that matters. It was a very romantic birthday gift, so.
Okay, well, whatever. Enjoy that along with your lot of land on Mars.
Thank you.
They say something about science has no boundaries and help us stop the military from attacking. And you're launching satellites, and you'll be on the moon soon. And people are selling land on Mars.
Yeah, let us fuck your women.
Yes, so they want a 3-kilometer radius area of land and the right to freely marry Earth women. And what they seem to mean by freely marry is we get to pick an Earth woman and she will marry us whether she likes it or not. Not the right to date Earth women.
I was like, is this right? Yeah, like, are they gonna date them? I was like, is there consent here? And then, like, as they keep going, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No
we've
consent.
got 5 picked out at some point coming up here. We've got 5 picked out, but we've already got 3 of them. We've already taken 3 of them.
Yeah. And don't worry, we're pacifists.
They mentioned that the exposure to strontium-90 has caused a lot of birth defects, so they need to mate with Earth women. So nobody addresses this issue of what do you mean your DNA is fully compatible with ours and you can just mate with our women? That's kind of a big deal.
Get the fuck out of here, creepo.
It's creepy, but it's also an important scientific discovery that we are compatible with these aliens, that we can breed with these aliens. There's an explanation that needs to be looked at. Are we in Outpost 2? Did Mysterians come here long ago? Are just all life forms of a certain type able to interbreed? They just gloss right over that.
Lots of questions.
Nobody addresses that at all. And Joji asks, "Are you blackmailing us?" I don't think it's blackmail technically. That's when they say we are pacifists. Yeah. As one of them at that moment is holding a gun on them. I don't think they understand what the word pacifist means. Pacifist does not
Yeah.
mean we'd prefer not to fight, but we're perfectly willing to fight if we have to. Pacifist certainly doesn't mean a
No.
preemptive strike with our giant death bug robot.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've already made threats, and one of them at that moment is pointing a gun at them. So, not pacifists. The meeting is over, and then we cut to an Earth meeting with lots of press. And some guy says, "We must show them how determined we are. Please act according to the schedule we have set," which we didn't see that happen, so I don't know what it is. And I think, is it a news guy that's telling us emergency Mysterian countermeasures forces are gathering at Mount Fuji?
Mhm.
And then the ladies are watching TV, and Joji comes in, and they want to know if it's hopeless. And he talks about the
And he's like, "Oh, by the way, they want to kidnap you."
Yeah, Mysterians want to marry the women of Earth, and you are on the list.
And she's like, "Stop teasing us."
Yeah, they don't believe him, and then a voice says, "It's true," and it's Sarashi from the TV, dressed like a Mysterian.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's gone over to the other side. So it seems that they never really fully explain this, but it appears that
No, but I felt like it was weird that he was dead,
Yeah.
and then like I was like, "There's no
Well,
way
it
he's
appear-
dead."
yeah.
And like,
so it appears that during the fire they must have come along and taken him, or he ran, or he
Snatched him
bumped
up.
into them or something.
A gay Mysterian was like, "Hey, we're gonna still feed your women, but I'm into
Yeah.
dude."
I guess so. So, I mean, they do have fabulous capes. So he wants them to stop them. They only want a small portion of land, and they ask, "Are you on their side?" And he says that Japan is behind America technologically, but the Mysterians are way ahead of everyone.
Just look at me in this
And
TV.
yeah, and just turn on the TV whenever you want to talk to me. So
Yeah, if you need me,
Yeah.
turn on the TV
Right.
anytime.
Does that mean that anytime they turn on the TV, he's gonna pop up and they'll be like, "No, I just wanted to catch the baseball scores. I didn't mean to summon you merely by turning on the television." And is it
Just
only
summon
this
you.
television or any television? Are you just constantly looking to see if I'm near a television? I don't know. Do I have to
all
be
of the
thinking
question.
about you when I do it? Or is it indeed anytime I turn on any television, are you just going to be there?
Oh, these are valid questions.
But Joji tells Dr. Adachi that Sarashi is in the dome and we're ready to attack.
Attack
Cut
music.
to the dome rising. The dome seems to go up and down, but why? I don't know why it goes up and comes back down, or goes down and comes back up. But it rises up and it's looking very red now, and it's weird. It's like the dome knows, oh, they're ready to attack. Let me put on my red fighting glow and go up so I can be attacked. Tanks shoot, cannons shoot, planes take off, and we get a combination of toys and stock footage, but none of it has any effect. The three saucers engage the airplanes, and a plane is shot down, and the dome starts shooting lightning rays at the plane. Later, they call them heat rays, but they kind of look like lightning. And the ray also makes a tank melt.
Yeah, it starts like melting all
And
the
the
shit.
saucers shoot energy balls, kind of like the robot did at the plane, and it crashes. And the dome is just shooting shit up. And one tank, the effects so far have been pretty good, but we get kind of a bad effect here. One tank is sucked into the ground, and we're cutting between a person on a tank, and a toy tank. And the image compositing or chroma key or whatever it is they've done with the real person, all of these old movies seem to have a real problem with this, in that the person becomes transparent or semi-transparent. So we get a little bit of that problem here with the tank.
I did like this though, like the tank flush, like basically the ground just like flushed it like a toilet.
So that part looks good. It was just when they're trying to show a real person on a real tank that it looked bad.
Yeah.
And then there's another meeting where they talk about the heat beam weapon radiating incredibly powerful X-rays. 10,000 rays per hour. I don't even know what that means. I don't Can you number X-rays? The number of X-rays it can. I don't know. I don't understand what they mean by that.
I have no idea. I believe
10,000
it.
individual rays per hour. How long are the rays? I don't know. But it has the destructive potential is 10 to the power of 27 or 10 to the 27th power of what? That didn't seem to mean anything. 10 what? 10
I was just
what?
like, ooh, damn. Yeah.
It sounds
makes
big,
sense.
but 10 what? But it's equal to the Great Kanto quake of 1923.
Mm-hmm.
Then the saucers fly around making announcements. They decide to take their message to the people and tell the general public that we won't attack if you don't attack, and we want land in a 3-kilometer radius.
We're hoping for peace. We're hoping for peace.
There's a army guy almost totally wiped out. I guess he's telling us the army was almost totally wiped out.
Yeah, he's saying, because they've already melted and like got all the jets and tanks and they've already fucked everything up.
So the
mostly.
science division is holding a conference to assess the situation.
Yeah, I really like this speech too in this like conference when he talks about like humanity having to unite. And he's like saying like it would be silly to think that all they want is land. Like that's stupid. Obviously, that's not what they're here for. So we have to like unite now. This is what has to happen. I thought it was
well,
good.
He's right, but also they told us they want more than land. They want our women as well.
They want our women.
And then there's some army guys discussing options, and there's an electron gun that's been proposed by the junior staff. By all means, let's get that idea from the junior staff into production.
Well, fuck yeah. I mean, whoever, anybody.
I just thought it was odd that they mentioned it came from the junior staff. Newspapers, again, with no translation, but one of them is in French, and I was able to work out that it meant our Mysterians enemies or allies. And then there's an English one that says focus is on UN conference. And then we get to the conference. Humanity must unite. If these establish a foothold, others will follow. They don't know that there are others, or maybe they just mean other Mysterians, and they must want. Oh yeah, this is what you were saying. Must want more than a small amount of land. And then Mysterians go over a blueprint of something that will be ready in 500 hours. And once it's complete,
it's a huge Earth butt plug.
Once it is complete, all of Eastern Japan will be under our control. That doesn't seem like a whole lot. I mean, compared to the planet, I mean, just
you gotta start somewhere, okay?
You're gonna start off small, but first 3 kilometers, and then all of Eastern Japan. And tomorrow, then a general meets with the Americans, and the dubbing results in some redundant translation going on.
What do you mean?
Because the Americans are speaking English and the Japanese guys are dubbed, so they are also speaking English. So the American says something, and then the translator repeats the same thing also in English to the Japanese guys.
That's funny.
May I introduce you, General Morita?
How do you do, General?
General, you've no doubt heard that the United States has launched an artificial satellite in Arizona to watch the Mysterians. We expect to receive valuable information.
The United States has launched an artificial satellite to observe the Mysterians.
Yes?
Expect some valuable information soon.
Somebody says, hey, you know Sarashi? Yeah, I know him. You want to speak to him? Watch this little magic trick. And he turns on the TV, and there's some kind of little magic show going on, and then Sarachi interrupts it, and they ask him, aren't you ashamed? Because clearly he's some kind of traitor.
Are you ashamed of yourself? And he says, I'm a scientist.
And the Mysterians want to stop us from atomic, or it can't leave Earth to the humans. Well, I mean, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking true.
It's true, but I don't want to leave it to the Mysterians either. I don't trust those fuckers.
Sure. I mean, totally.
And they have a space station 49,000 kilometers above Earth with total control over the airspace. Who will rule Earth? Mankind? Mysterians? No, science. And then he signs off. And I'm like, what are you even talking about. Science can't rule Earth. Science is a process for gaining information and testing theories. It can't rule anything.
Science.
It sounded good when he
rules.
said it, but it doesn't make any damn sense. And the Americans say, as Americans are wont to do, say, we must fight. Next, we go to the Defense Force of Earth headquarters. By the way, I meant to mention this. The Japanese title is literally translated as Earth Defense Force. Chikuyu Boagun. So in Japan, it's not called the Mysterians. It's called Earth Defense Force. So the focus is more on the Earth part of the movie rather than the alien part of the movie. Yeah. And a bunch of generals from various countries arrive. A big meeting, a map, a UN flag, a diagram.
All the things.
Yeah. The dome is immobile, but the heat ray is weaker as distance increases. Mysterians are probably also vulnerable to the heat ray, so we will make our own. And then we cut to the dome rising, and there's some army guys in a bunker waiting, and a big ass plane / rocket thing that they've built off camera just does a vertical takeoff.
Yeah, I have to say too, like, this is obviously a toy of some sort. Like, they obviously built this, and we've had so much like stock footage in this movie that this part just looked like shit. And I'm not complaining because like this movie rocks balls, but just this part like was like, I was like, oh come on, because you know it's obviously a toy, and when you go from like stock footage to this like little toy, it's
we've seen you showed us a lot of real planes, and now here's a toy plane. I just thought it was weird that it just takes off, just rises up with no visible means of propulsion. In the bunker, the guys say, "What's that?" It's Earth Force. Goggles on. To Earth. Rockets circle dome at 3 kilometers. Saucers incoming. Begin the attack. Initiate the attack. Bomb the dome.
And we hear the same attack music.
And then the bunker seems to be too close to the dome, though, because the bunker takes a hit when they start attacking the dome. Continue your attack. Dome heat ray blows up the rocket. 3,000-degree heat ray didn't work.
Ceasefire, return to base.
I wrote that down. Ceasefire, return to base. And then the guys from the bunker are moping. And then they hear something from below. Some dude tells a general something must be done about the heat ray. Loading electron gun onto the plane is the only issue. They talk about this electron gun, but I don't think they ever actually use it. I don't know what the point of the electron gun is. I don't think it ever gets deployed. Right?
I think it does.
I don't think it does.
Yeah. Because it like reflects.
No, that's a different weapon altogether.
Oh, okay. Then no, I don't know that.
The Mysterians now say they will occupy an area of 75 kilometers in radius, and any Earthlings entering it will be removed by force. And then we get another Earthling meeting where they talk about H-bombs. Under no circumstances that they say I think this is part of just being Japanese. They just have a aversion to H-bombs because they just reject that outright, and they don't want to suffer the same fate that befell the Mysterians because they destroyed themselves with H-bomb. And then one of the Americans comes in with a very odd dubbed voice and is like, "Good news! I've got blueprints for a new machine."
This guy's voice, because it's like an older gentleman, but then the voice is like a very like
sounds like a teenage
very high pitched. Yeah.
Hey everybody!
It's so funny.
Hey gang! Yeah, and he does also just doesn't sound like a general or a scientist. He just sounds like, "Hey gang, let's go down to the soda shop for some pops, and I have blueprints for a new machine. You're gonna love it." So yeah, he doesn't he's not talking about the electron gun. He's talking about this new thing, this Marcolite Markalite 5? Markalite and the
Oh,
Blu-ray,
okay, yeah,
the blue,
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Blu-ray, the blueprints appear to say Markalite flying atomic heat projector. They want to build a lens 200 meters in radius that will reflect energy rays and produce its own powerful ray. When they use it later, it just seems to be producing its own ray. We don't really see it reflecting the other ray.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a clever idea, but then they end up not really doing much of that. It's 1.5 kilometers in range. So you're saying we got to get it close? Yes. That's the range. You got to get it within that range. That's what range means, Army guy. It'll be destroyed before we can set it up. And where do we make that and how do we move? Where do we make them and how do we move them? Jesus, this part just killed me. We'll hold a conference to discuss this. Aren't you holding a conference right now? Just discuss it now. All the relevant people are already in the room. Work it out now. What the fuck are you waiting for? Let's form a committee to discuss forming a committee. I mean, Jesus. But then we see them loading stuff, big United States Air Force planes, and shots of the Defense Force plane or rocket or whatever it is. They've got more than one of these rocket things that we saw shot down earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh my God, we get the lamest kidnapping ever.
Oh my
Two
gosh.
saucers just halted midair, which fine, alien saucers, they can do that. And it's Etsuko and Hiroku are setting the table, and a Mysterian drops in. He just sort of lowers in on a wire or something, and just grabs Hiroko while Etsuko's in the other room. Just grabs Hiroko, who puts up no resistance. She just kind of sort of instantly faints.
She doesn't even scream.
No, she doesn't scream. She doesn't try to run. She doesn't fight back. She just sort of faints right into his arms, and he drags her off.
Straight jacks her ass.
And then some guys I didn't realize at first they're arriving at the house. That's why they were setting the table. So, and then Etsuko comes in looking for Hiroko, and then a guy levitates up into the ship. Outside, we see him levitating up into the ship with Hiroko. And a second guy grabs Etsuke, and just as the door opens and the older woman, I think we saw her earlier in a scene, an older woman with the people that just arrived come in time to see her float away. And they quickly yell, "Don't shoot," because it might hit her, and report this, and the saucers fly off. Another meeting, Mysterian Fortress nearing completion. No time left to waste. The electron guns aren't ready. We can only use the Markalite 5. See, why did they even bring up the electron? They weren't gonna use them. It seems like they should have at least, like at the last minute, hey, we got one of those electron guns ready. Here we come. But nope. We should use both, but no, can't wait. Evacuate everyone within 500 kilometers of the site. And then we get another evacuation scene. Honeybee, I had this idea that we should make up like bingo cards for these movies.
Oh,
maybe we'll do some and put them up on the web somewhere you can download and play with your friends when you watch. But evacuation would definitely be one of the squares on the bingo card.
Hell yes. It could be a few, actually.
Well, you'd want to, I think the way, if you were going to actually play it, you'd have the same items, but in different order to determine whether or not you got bingo. But yeah, one of them would be evacuation. One would be film presentation. One would be lady scientist.
One would be the Kong in the window.
Yes. Yep. I was working on earlier today, and Kong window was one of the squares. So there's evacuation going on. Joji and the doctor say that rescuing the ladies is almost impossible. And, oh, God damn it, Joji, again, withholding vital information, says, when we were hiding, I found a tunnel to the dome. What?
This kid.
I wrote in all capitals. What? Exclamation point. God damn it, Joji. We could have attacked that way. They could have sent troops in through that tunnel and attacked them from within. What the actual fuck, Joji? God, this guy's stupid.
Didn't you learn your lesson?
So
the first
stupid.
Time?
And then an extra goofy rocket takes off. And the dome rises. And Joji uncovers the tunnel. And the dome shoots at the rocket. And the goofy rocket deploys the Markalite 5 things that look like satellite dishes. They he deploys them from the rocket, and they kind of land and open up in their satellite dishes. And somebody orders to give them the ray, and there's a lot of shooting back and forth. The saucers land in the little saucers that have been flying around land in the lake for some reason. Joji's in the tunnel, Ray's shooting, missiles shooting. As easily as the women went down when they were kidnapped, this Mysterian guard that Joji encounters in the tunnel, or just outside the tunnel.
Yeah. So confused. I wrote, like, did he kiss him to death? Like, he just, like, dipped him. Like, he, like, danced with him and, like, dipped him, and then, like, it was weird.
Yeah,
and, like,
I wrote Joji awkwardly subdues guard and takes gun. And the Markalite 5 dishes slowly move closer. They have some sort of treads or something. They every now and then they move a little bit closer. And inside the dome, the Mysterians run around. Joji's sneaking around. He forces a guy to tell him where the women are. And then a yellow guy comes into the women holding pen and says, "Follow me, hurry." Then there's more Ray stuff. Dishes get closer. Rockets. There's rockets and Dome shoots. Let's see. Dome shoots Earth ship, but it doesn't seem to affect it. And it went down. I think it's the same type of ship that went down pretty easy earlier, but now it seems to be bouncing off of it. And World Air Force Beta is the name of the ship. The power's dropping, 20 minutes left, so these Markalites can only shoot for a limited amount of time. More rockets, more rays. Mm-hmm. And then the dome starts lowering and rising back up. It starts kind of going up and down, behaving kind of erratically. Mm-hmm. Number 2 Beta, take off now. We ain't ready. And the dome's going up and down more. Markalites don't seem to be doing much reflecting, I wrote. Dome looks like it's on fire. And the Mysterians say, "Stop, or we will retaliate." Haven't they been retaliating already? I don't know what they're threatening to do that they haven't already. And they tell the Mysterians, "We'll stop, but you must leave Earth." And the red guy raises his hand, and something starts churning up in the lake. And a water spout hits the dish and starts flooding into the valley.
The toy town.
Yes, wipes out the toy village. Number 2 Beta, exclamation point. So I guess it's getting closer. Inside the dome, Joji just starts shooting up machines, and it's fucking shit up. And the guards come in, and oh no, his gun is out of energy, and he's captured. And then a yellow guy takes charge of him, and the Beta ship is taking off now. Mysterians stumble around in the break room. And the yellow guy takes Joji to the tunnel where the women are waiting and says, "Take them and escape." And at this point, Hiroko realizes that it's Ryoshi. And he says, "I don't intend to return. Give the doctor the rest of my report. I've finished my research. If this fortress is completed, a press of a button. Oh, if this fortress is completed, a press of a button could destroy Tokyo." And he says he was tricked, and I still have work left to do. Goodbye. As they're leaving, he keeps yelling at them as he exits down the hallway.
This is
"Escape
weird.
quickly! It's gonna explode soon. There's a lesson for the Earth."
Say, like, he just
just in the distance, he's yelling, "Don't misuse science!"
Escape quickly! This place will explode soon! The Mysterians' tragedy is a lesson for the Earth. No matter what, you mustn't misuse science! The Earth must not repeat
just stand there listening for a while as he makes his exiting speech. And then they finally GTFO. So the beta ship is flying over energy. I find it odd they call it beta when there's not an alpha or a gamma. I don't know. 1 minute left. Prepare to fire. Target locked. And the Mysterians are in a tizzy, I wrote. And then, so here's where we get a glimpse of, I guess, another one of the robots. Something drills up from under the Markolite dish as the beta is firing, and the dish collapses, and it looks like it collapses on top of another robot that was actually using its drill-shaped nose to drill under the dish. I just thought it was odd that they didn't give us a clearer look at that and make it more obvious that they had multiple robots. Ryochi shoots up a bunch of guys and machine. Beta fires, ship blows up, retreat to the station, and then the Mysterians kind of casually stroll out of the break room.
Yeah, they have no, get up and go. I don't know why they're walking
they should have been moving
that.
more quickly because Ryoshi starts to shoot them in the back, but then he doesn't. He takes it.
Is it not Shirashi?
That's his first name. Ryoshi is sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's my bad. I was like, wait a second.
Sorry. But yeah, he acts like he's going to shoot these guys in the back as they casually stroll out, but then he doesn't. The beta ship fires. More ship blows up. Joji and the ladies are just coming out of the tunnel, and they see saucers fly. And the beta shoots some of the saucers down. And Dr. Adachi says, they're trapped in space for eternity. We must learn from their error and never repeat it. Some saucers get away to the space station, but then do they tell us this or show us that? Anyway, observation. Yes, I think Adachi tells us observation satellites are up there to ensure. No, I think it's Joji, isn't it? Somebody tells us that observation satellites are up there to ensure that the Mysterians never return. Although it's implied that they are just trapped on their own satellite. So I don't know if they're just going to starve to death up there. What they could probably do is sneak down on their saucers and then just blend in. Just rather than taking over the Earth, just change clothes and blend in with society and settle down and have a nice life. And, mate with an Earthling the hard way. But
Earth girls are easy.
But the hard way by getting them to actually like you first instead of just kidnapping them. So that was the Mysterians from 1957.
The Mysterians. How many stars are you gonna give us them?
I quite liked it.
Same. Yeah.
3.5 maybe.
Okay. Hell yeah. I'm gonna give it a 4. Maybe like a 4.5 because I want to be stingy with my 5s. And also, I feel like I can't give this a 5 because the kaiju just wasn't good enough. Not enough of it.
Yeah, not enough kaiju. I mean, it's not their fault. They
totally no. It was great.
They didn't submit it to us for consideration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Folks, we will be back next time with Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. We're moving out of 1957 into 1958 with Attack.
Oh, shit. Is it from 58?
Yeah, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
Yay! Goodbye, 1957.
Until then, remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And don't misuse science.
Yes. And we will not see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us on your podcasting platform of choice. Our theme song is by the Texicano folk rock punk featuring Lita Lopez. You can support the show, find links to our social media, and even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/MNFTG.